Today's episode of Behind These Walls highlights the gaming house on Main Street in Smithfield, also referred to since its construction as the Gambling House, Old Pub, and Billiard Room. It is now the location of Maggie Casey's Celtic Treasure,
which is a gift shop that I have begun in memory of my Nana, who was Maggie Casey. My mother's parents were Irish immigrants. And I love bringing the Celtic culture here to Main Street because Smithfield was settled by Scotsmen, and George Purdy is one of the more famous or possibly infamous members of history of Smithfield. He was a tradesman and was very sympathetic to the British during the Revolutionary War, which didn't set well with his neighbors. But I do like thinking that, you know, we're bringing that Scotch vibe back to Main Street, along with, of course, some Irish and Welsh as well.
In colonial America, courthouses were the location for local government. Essential structures at every courthouse complex included a clerk's office, jail, and tavern. The tavern was vital as courts met infrequently. Court officials and litigants often traveled long distances to attend, and they needed a place to dine and lodge. The tavern in Smithfield was known as the William Rand Tavern. Today, it's the Smithfield Inn. The gaming house sits between the inn and the 1750 courthouse, and this trio of structures, all constructed in the mid-1700s, saw a flurry of activity during court days.
We are in the old gaming house. Back then, it was for gentlemen to game the night away. The inn is right next door, of course, and so people would stay there, and the gentlemen would come over here to play games and probably drink ale and misbehave without their wives. In written history that I know of is 1766. Now the inn is 1750 or 52, something around there. So it's a little after the inn was built. But the first time it's in written history was 1766, when a group of well-known gentlemen from the area were arrested for being a little bit too boisterous. One was Josiah Parker, who was a member of the First Continental Congress. The men were pulled up for drunkenness in court, and they were acquitted except for John Smellie, who had cursed, and so he was punished for that.
Taverns were establishments that fostered activity from morning until night. While county residents met here to socialize, trade gossip, and transact business on court day, gentlemen often carried on their business in a tavern's gaming room or in a nearby gaming house, such as this building. In 1766, this structure was advertised in the Virginia Gazette by tavern owner William Rand as a storehouse and counting room. Likely, this building saw a bevy of uses. Although as a gaming house, typical activities could feature libations, games of chance, feats of strength, political and philosophical discussions, or fights between the inebriated. Colonists, like their English and European cousins, bet on anything and everything. Card games, dog fights, wrestling matches, births and deaths. Gaming was a centerpiece of colonial life. Everybody gambled: men, women, rich, poor, gentry, and the enslaved. And it was a powerful economic and social force from the 1600s, with some waxing and waning into the 19th century. In 1798, laws were enacted against public gambling that put this gaming house out of business. But since its days as a wagering venue, the building has been home to a variety of businesses, such as a barber shop, an insurance agency, and stores selling clothing, rare books, and food. The Wight County Museum also called this building home for 3 years in the 1970s, as did the Christmas store, which opened here in 1994. The gaming house is a commercial, vernacular-style, two-story building laid in painted three-course American bond brick with stucco on the facade. The hipped roof is accented with a corbelled chimney. While altered since construction, the building has several features which harken back to its original design.
We have the original fireplace, and I love it. All kinds of crumbly things will come down, so we had to put a balloon up in it, a special fireplace balloon, because we don't want to lose any of it. But I love to think of what used to go on with that fireplace, you know, and the chats that took place by it, because it is the original fireplace. And so we've been very careful to take care of it and just have created some shelving toward the front of it. Obviously there is some brickwork that is from modern years.
Upstairs, the support structures are visible.
So this was just a drop ceiling, and my husband and son took out the drop ceiling and exposed these beautiful timbers. And if you see the nails that they put in, it's just very cool. Those are pine boards from an old schoolhouse out in the county, and they built the ceiling. This is the fireplace. Well, this would have been the one they put in the 1800s.
And downstairs, there are telltale signs of the building's original construction.
You'll see that the door, the original back door, is a few feet off the ground. So obviously, there used to be, the first floor was, and I'm sure underneath was storage. They probably had their casks of ale there.
Old buildings require a lot of love and care. The gaming house has been no exception, but it was a calling for the Wilder family.
It was owned by Smithfield Foods because it was part of the Smithfield Inn property, and they decided that they wanted to separate it from the inn and sell it, and it was just a matter of great timing, and I had the first right of refusal, so we were able to buy this beautiful historic building. My husband Mike and I are in this together, and we're just thrilled to be part of Smithfield's history, so we've tried really hard to take good care of it. I love having a little part of Smithfield's history in our hands. We were really excited to be able to purchase it and just to bring it to life a little more, because it's a beautiful little building. There is so much rich history here. I wish these walls could talk. I'd love to know what was going on in 1766.
Maggie Casey honors the legacy of the building as well as the development and history of the town. The building and what's inside both have a deeply special meaning to the owner.
And I really love that I'm carrying my grandparents' legacy. My grandparents were very poor Irish folk who emigrated from Ireland because it was just a way to stay alive and to get to the United States and be able to make enough money to live on, to send back to the rest of the family. So I love honoring them by bringing their heritage to Smithfield.
A lot of others think that the building and all of its legacies are pretty special too.
See that spider up there? That's George. And we are not sure, but he may have been there when we moved in, or else he had a granddaddy. But I think they can live 3 to 5 years, and we've been here 5 years.